Hey friends, my name's Bethany.
And I'm Zion. Welcome back to a new episode of the Totally Kids Show.
Today, we're going to be learning about people whose job it is to keep the peace 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
We're going to be learning about police officers.
Please welcome Officer Spencer.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Thanks for being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Officer Spencer, what kind of things do you do as a police officer?
Well, Zion, we do a lot of things, a lot more than what people might believe. We enforce laws and we respond to all sorts of emergencies. You can say that some of those laws that we have to enforce help maintain peace and order in society.
So, what do you do to keep peace when there's like a criminal threatening people?
Well, Bethany, I hope in most circumstances all I have to do is just talk to somebody to try and keep everybody safe. But in those circumstances, it goes back to Zion's earlier question. We're trained in just about everything we need to do to try and protect people.
Is it ever hard to stay calm and keep the peace?
It is very difficult sometimes to stay calm and keep the peace, but what I have to tell myself and what every law enforcement officer out there has to tell themselves is that they always have to maintain calm so that they're able to keep people safe. If I can't maintain my calmness, then I'm not going to be very good at my job of keeping people safe.
So, Officer Spencer, what's your favorite part about being a police officer?
Well, my favorite part about being a police officer is the positive interactions I can have with the community. I like to go out, have conversations with people, try to steer away from the negativity in our society nowadays. I love going into schools, talking to kids, and I love coming and doing things like this where I can help you all out by answering some questions for you.
Now I want to be a police officer. Okay, what's the hardest part about being a police officer?
Well, Zion, the hardest part about being a police officer is sometimes I have to see people at their worst. And in those circumstances, it makes it very difficult for me to be able to keep the peace, but I still have to keep the peace because that's my job.
So, how should kids and people act when they see a police officer?
Well, Bethany, we're just like anybody else. We like to have a conversation. We like to talk. If you have questions for us, you can come up and talk to us. If you've got any issues you want us to try and help you with, you can come up and ask us questions. If we're in the middle of dealing something where we're trying to maintain the peace, then we would come to you and try to do what we could to make you safe.
So what happens when someone calls 911?
Zion, I'm glad you asked me that because a lot of people don't realize how that process works. When you dial 911, it goes into a call center, which is called dispatch, to some very talented people, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. The most important thing you can remember is that you want to try to be calm as you can, and answer all of those questions. Our dispatchers, as you're talking to them, are actually typing that information into a computer system that's sent directly to us in the field so that we can respond and get to you as quick as we can to help you.
So, why do you think some people have a hard time being peaceful?
Well, Bethany, I see people at their worst a lot of times. And whether it's because they're going through something that's caused a lot of stress to them, whether something bad has happened to them or maybe somebody that they loved, a lot of times when people are dealing with that stuff, it gets a little overwhelming and they find it hard to stay peaceful.
Officer Spencer, do you have any tips for kids to keep the peace at school or even at home?
Sure do. It's something you don't see near enough nowadays, and that's being able to talk to somebody. There's too many times when people let social media do the talking or they walk away and don't finish a conversation, and that can cause problems down the road. So I think once things calm down, if you're able to go talk to somebody about whatever's going on, then that's going to go a long way to keeping the peace.
Those are good tips. Thanks for joining us, Officer Spencer, and thank you for all you do to help keep the peace.
Thanks for having me. I was very glad to be here today.
We'll see you next time on the Totally Kids Show.